Now I'm going to give you an updated story about the San Francisco police officer being attacked by a man who allegedly shouting racial comments at others. So let's go ahead and watch this video real quick. And there's also two stories I want to cover here too. So we will cover this one first and then go from there. So let's watch this, shall we?
Pummeled to the ground. We are learning more about that attack on a San Francisco police officer. The union president says staffing levels are dangerously low, leaving some officers on patrol without a partner to help when something like that happens, like it did Friday night. NBC Bay Area's Gianelli has more.
Surveillance video captures the moment a man turns and attacks an Asian police officer in San Francisco. She was attempting to detain him for reportedly threatening people in Chinatown Friday night. Police say the suspect, 33-year-old Gerardo Contreras, is homeless. The president of the Police Officers Association says the officer should not have had to approach Contreras by herself. Even with 5 years on the force, he says she should have had a partner.
Yeah, she should have had a partner, number one. And within those 5 years, I don't really think she was, properly trained. It's like, come on now, 5 years of training, and when you're trying to go after somebody, you're supposed to have backup at all times, right?
This officer was alone, and that's directly related to staffing. We've been in a recruitment and retention staffing crisis for years now.
Tony Montoya says he is grateful people in the area jumped in to help the officer until backup arrived. He also says that orange weapon indicates the officer had armed herself with a less than lethal weapon to get him into custody.
An extended range impact weapon, and basically it's a modified shotgun that shoots beanbags filled with pellets.
A witness to the arrest says he took these pictures of officers contacting Contreras earlier in the evening just a few blocks away at Portsmouth Square. Police received calls he was vandalizing scooters. He moved along to the parklet on Kearny, where David Yee says he took these pictures.
He kind of came out of the parklet and was throwing cardboard around and was shouting stuff like, Chinese people don't belong here.
Once backup arrived, it took several officers to control Contreras. The officer who was attacked went to the hospital, but the union president says she is back home. Police say they are investigating the assault on the police officer as a possible hate crime. Contreras remains in custody tonight. In San Francisco, Jean Ellie, NBC Bay Area News.
Okay, so they're currently investigating this incident as a potential hate crime, even though you heard from the guy, he was shouting, racial slurs, saying that Chinese people don't belong here, right? And this guy has been terrorizing people in Chinatown for how long? And yet they still letting them walk the streets. So if I was the San Francisco police, yeah, I will slap that hate crime charge on him because, yeah, it's clear that he doesn't like Chinese people. Allegedly, right? Just take it from the Asian man who said that he was shouting out, racial comments. Chinese people don't belong here. And by then, you guys should have already, been on top of this person from the get-go. And then meanwhile, you have this incident right here. But first, I'm going to watch the video and I'm going to look at, the plot holes in this video before I read the article, okay? So let's go ahead and watch this one.
Take a live look at San Francisco, where police are looking for a woman who had her hair set on fire while she was riding on a Muni bus. KPIX5's Betty Yu live in San Francisco with some new surveillance video. Betty?
And Ken, police need to find this woman so that she can make an official statement so that they can then move forward with this aggravated assault case caught on camera. Video shows a teen whose face is blurred because he's a juvenile using what looks like a lighter to set a woman's hair on fire.
Okay. The juvenile's face is being blurred, as well as the other folks who were sitting in the back. So, of course. Anyway, continue.
She doesn't appear to take notice, so he tries again. SFPD says this happened on board a number 5 Fulton Street Muni bus last month, around 2:30 in the afternoon. The victim and suspects both boarded the bus at McAllister and Laguna Streets. Police say other passengers helped the victim, who left the scene before officers arrived. The bus operator met with police near McAllister and Leavenworth Streets and reported the aggravated assault. The teen and 2 acquaintances fled the scene.
Why is it so much people targeting women and Asian women?
The victim is
Okay, wait a minute. Now, the black girl said that why are people attacking women and Asian women? Okay, let's listen again.
Targeting so much people. Why is it so much?
Teen and 2 acquaintances fled the scene.
Why is it so much people targeting women and Asian women?
Okay. She said, why is there so much, hostility towards, women and Asian women, right? So, listen to this.
The victim is described as a woman of Filipino or Latin descent.
Wait, what's that? She said Filipino or Latin descent. Key word, or. Okay, now listen again. Listen.
Woman of Filipino or Latin descent. Is described as a woman of Filipino or Latin descent between.
Okay. So you're telling me you don't even know what descent she is? So you can't even tell whether she's Filipino or Latin descent. It's like if you're gonna give out somebody's ethnicity, you need to get it right. Okay? But moving on.
50 and 60 years old. Sinead Creighton says she's strategic about where she sits on a muni bus.
I try my best to ride in the back to where nobody's behind me and I'm seeing everything.
You just don't feel safe in San Francisco, like as a pedestrian, as somebody who lives here.
Okay, so you heard that from Amanda Cheng, whatever. You just don't feel safe in San Francisco. Let's hear that again.
Everything.
You just don't feel safe in San Francisco, like as a pedestrian, as somebody who lives here.
You heard that again, right? You just don't feel safe in San Francisco as a pedestrian and as somebody who lives there. Well, here's an idea, Amanda Cheng. Move out. Plain and simple. Just move out of there. If you feel it's unsafe. But then again, everywhere you go, there's always going to be crimes, no matter what. If you feel that you're unsafe in, San Francisco, just simply move somewhere else where it's, a little safer. Hell, don't just cry and complain about it. Hell, do something about it.
This just can't be happening day in, day out. My parents are worried, and it's like I carry a pepper spray.
And we should also add that this case is being investigated as a possible hate crime. In San Francisco, Betty Yu, KPIX.
Now my question is, Betty Yu, so this can't be seen as a possible hate crime, right? So, I got a question. That suspect committed a hate crime against what? Asian American or Latin American? So where does the hate crime stem from? The Asian side of it or the Latin side of it? That's what I want to know, because you rarely ever hear about, Latin Americans, being attacked by, peoples of different groups, and the suspect being charged as, a hate crime against that specific group. I never ever hear stories like that. So I just want to point that out. And so we go to this article right here, and I'll read everything to you. So here it says, investigators release San Francisco minibus surveillance video Wednesday of a brazen daytime assault of a female passenger whose hair was set ablaze. Okay, which we already watched the video of what happened. The other passengers assist the victim, who left the scene prior to police arrival. Now, why would she leave the scene before the police could get to her and address the issue right then and there? Like, come on. Investigators are asking the victim to come forward and provide a statement. That is, if she wants to. According to police, on Sunday, May 2nd, at approximately 2:25 p.m., officers from the Tenderloin police station responded to McAllister and Leavenworth streets regarding an incident on board on 5 Fulton Street bus. Okay, arriving officers met the bus operator, who told them that the passenger's hair had been set on fire by an unidentified suspect. Yeah, because they blurred his face out. That's the problem. We know the suspect is black, but there's no face. Police said the suspect and two acquaintances, who are persons of interest in the case, exited the bus and were last seen fleeing eastbound on McAllister Street. Other passengers gave the bus aid to the victims, who left the scene prior to the police arrival. The victim was described as a female between 50 and 60 of age, with dark hair and eyeglasses. Police described the suspect as a black male in his teens, who was last seen wearing a red long sleeve top with color log on the front, matching red pants, and a black backpack. SFPD, made a tweet about this. So the incident had been assigned to the SFPD Special Investigations Details. Investigators were able to determine that both the victim and suspect boarded the coach in McAllister and Laguna Streets, about 8 blocks west of where the officers were called for the incident. Okay. Police are hoping to find this victim so she can make an official statement and they can move forward in this aggravated assault. Okay, so again, why did the woman leave the scene before the police got there? And what about the other two passengers who were there assisting her? They could have helped determine whether it was a hate crime or not. Did the guy say something racially to the woman when he set her hair on fire? That is yet to be determined. So, anyway, continue. when I see it on my phone, I was just like, why is there so much people targeting women and Asian women? Yeah, they're talking about, that black girl that made a statement about it. But again, they said that the Asian woman, they said that the woman was Filipino or Latin descent. Okay, remember that. Filipino or Latin descent. Okay? A Mooney writer and San Francisco resident. So I was just like, why would somebody do that to her? Mentally ill people, but they didn't mention anything about mental illness with this guy, much like they did with the other guy, that homeless guy that attacked that Asian officer. And yet they still letting him walk the streets despite having a mental illness, as they quote unquote say. Creighton says she's strategic about where she sits on the Mooney bus. Yeah, good. You should be strategic of where you sit. Especially being a black person in America, you should be careful where you sitting on the bus anyway. So, yeah, and this case is being investigated as a possible hate crime. All that other stuff, we already heard from the video, This case is being investigated as a possible hate crime. Now my question is do these people know for sure that it was a hate crime? Does anybody know for sure if that was a hate crime? Did the suspect shout out racial slurs at the woman before setting her hair on fire? It could be possible, but I'm not saying it is, because I didn't hear any racial slurs thrown at the woman because the surveillance camera was muted, but I do believe he should be charged for aggravated assault as an adult. So, yeah. So that's just a little rundown of the plot holes that I noticed in this article, in this news story. So, yeah, y'all let me know what you think about this, these two incidents. And like, share, subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Stay safe.